Hey, have you ever been looking forward to something like you just so looking forward to this thing? Maybe it was like a blind date with somebody, and you're like counting down the days until this happens, or like a vacation, and you're just like saving your pennies like crazy, and you're like watching the bottles stack up. Like, I can't wait to get to the bottle depot. Keep saving those pennies, and you're so excited. You're so excited for that special moment. The kids knock on your door. They want the bottles. You're like, get out of here. I'm working towards something. And when you get to that moment, that special moment that you've been so excited for, actually, you know what happens a lot of times with this? It's ordering something online as well. But you get to that special moment, and it leaves you disappointed. Has this happened to you? It happened to one of our staff members today. They ordered this, they thought it was a package of these big, awesome funnels that they were gonna fill something with. And when the package arrived, they were so excited to get it, they opened it up, and the funnels, I kid you not, are this big. The tiny little Smurf funnels. We're so looking forward to different things in life, and then we get to that place, and we find ourselves discouraged or let down or upset, and things didn't, live up to the expectation we had for that moment. I find that this happens to me way more often than I want it to. Like, way more often than I want it to. You see, we are all on a journey for inner satisfaction. Yeah. We're all on this journey of life together. We want to be satisfied. There's different things that satisfy different people, but either way, we're all on this journey for inner satisfaction. We need to have things in life that we enjoy. And I love just the example that David leaves for us in the Bible of what brought him joy. I love that David in Psalms 27, and Psalms is such an encouraging book of the Bible. In Psalms 27, David says this. He says, "One thing I ask from the Lord, this only do I seek, that I might dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to gaze on the beauty of the Lord and to seek him in his temple." I love that David seeks the Lord. And to seek is not, to seek, it would mean to crave, to pursue, to go after. And as I sort of looked up what that word meant, I just thought about how often in my daily life am I really seeking the Lord? Wow. And how often am I seeking honestly, just like surface level happiness, just quick things to get by, to make myself feel good. But I am not designed in a way that I just get to pick and choose where God fits into my world. Yeah. Yep, that's good. I believe this is what I'm learning, that true inner satisfaction comes from knowing God more today than I did yesterday. Yeah. That's good. True, inner satisfaction comes from knowing God more today than I did yesterday. Yeah. That's good. I think that nothing in this world can give us true inner satisfaction without the presence of God. So, do you know why that moment just now? Do you know why worship felt so good? The presence of God. That's why people love worship so much, because the presence of God is in that place. And I love that we get these moments in church together. This is what I love about going to the mountains. I love that. I don't know about you, but I can feel the presence of God in the mountains. I don't know, maybe it's just I'm wearing Birkenstocks too much. I don't know. But when I'm there, I can feel the presence of God. And I love that. I love that, because I think in life there's so many things that we chase to make us happy, but they do not bring us joy. Wow. There is so many things in life that we can spend so much time chasing, but they do not bring us joy. I started watching Parks and Rec lately, and shout out Amazon Prime. I'm starting to use my free Prime, but I'm not endorsing that show, by the way, but I don't know if anything bad happens. My filter, I think, is terrible. I'm not sure. But where was I going with that? I find that when it's on, it's bringing me happiness, but the moment it's off, that's gone. Wow. Like, it's not like I go through my day just being like, oh my gosh, That Amy Poehler, what an actress. Like, oh, Chris Pratt. Oh, man. But no. There's things that, here's why. Happiness is based on what's happening in the moment, but joy is based on what's happening inside of me. Happiness is based on, just something, entertainment, but joy is independent of my outward circumstances. Joy is independent from that. So I can be happy. I might not be happy, but I can still have my joy. And I think there's way too many people that love God, that show up at church on Sunday, that they would call themselves a Christian, but they so still feel unfulfilled. That they're chasing happiness, but there's no true joy. And so what happens is we end up looking like everybody else. Everybody else, like the new car is not enough. Another vacation is not enough. That book, as great as it is to read books, it's still not enough. That service in the moment is so amazing, but it's still not enough. In Matthew 4, verses 4, Jesus tells us this. He says, man shall not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God. And I forget that more often than I want to. Here's the thing. You can't just read that verse and just get it. It's a process. I need to have a daily revelation that I cannot live on bread alone. In John chapter 6, this is a long verse, and I'm a bad reader, so bear with me. That's why this service is longer than Sunday mornings. Okay. John chapter 6 says, sometime after this, Jesus crossed to the far shore of the Sea of Galilee, and a great crowd of people followed him because they saw the signs and wonders he'd performed by healing the sick. Jesus went up on a mountainside, and he sat down with his disciples. And the Jewish Passover festival was near. Jesus looked up and saw a great crowd coming towards him. He said to Philip, where shall we buy bread for these people to eat? He asked this only to test him, for he knew already what he had in mind and what he was going to do. And Philip answered, it would take more than half a year's wages to buy enough bread for each one to have a bite. They must have been buying Cobb's bread. It's expensive bread. Another one of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, spoke up and he said, here's a boy with 5 small barley loaves and 2 fish. But how far will they go amongst so many? And Jesus said, have the people sit down. There was plenty of grass in that place, and they sat down. About 5,000 men were there, and Jesus took the loaves and he gave thanks and distributed to those who were seated as much as they wanted. He did the same with the fish. And when they had enough to eat, he said to his disciples, gather the pieces that are left over, let nothing be wasted. So they gathered them and filled the 12 baskets with the pieces of the 5 barley loaves left over by them, those who had eaten. I love that Jesus tests Philip in this. I love that Jesus already knows what he's going to do, but he tests him anyway. Can I just encourage you tonight that God already knows what he's going to do with your life, but I believe he's going to send tests to you to see how you'll respond. Hey, let's see if they're ready. Let's see if they respond a different way. And here's the thing. God tests people to refine their faith, never to tempt them to do evil. It actually makes me so angry when people talk about, oh, God tested me. Like when they're tempted to do evil. Oh, it's just God again. Just trying to get me to go to that club. It's just God again. It's just, oh, Lord, you're testing me. But God won't test you to do evil. The temptation for evil, that's you, baby. That ain't God. And I feel like I expect certain things out of life, and I remove God from my situation. And then I'm disappointed by my outcome. Has this happened to you? And as I thought about this thought as we were preparing for this night, I can't help but think about that little boy, because it's just a quick mention of him. But in the Bible, I think you have to read between the lines quite a bit. It's just a quick mention. Hey, this boy, he's got this bread, he's got these fish. What were the boy's expectations for that day? He was going to go to the field, he was going to make a fish sandwich and do his thing. Like he's going to get some poke, he's going to get his raw fish, whatever. He's going to make his fish sandwich and he's going to go on. And I think about, how would have responded if I was this boy? I've been like, nobody touching my Filet-O-Fish, okay? This might be the lowest item on the McDonald's menu, but you still ain't touching it. But what happens is, this boy is willing to surrender his lunch, and then over 5,000 people were fed because of it. All because one boy was willing to give up his lunch. I just want to encourage you today, Jesus needs people who are willing to bring the seed for a miracle. And to you, it might just look like a little seed, but he needs somebody who's willing to give that seed in order for a miracle to happen. I think that it is so clear how important this miracle is. The miracle is clearly very significant because it's the only one recorded in all four Gospels aside from the resurrection. It is the only one that is recorded in all four Gospels, the miracle of feeding the 5,000. So I want to ask you tonight, what miracle is on the other end of your sacrifice? What miracle is on the other end of your sacrifice? I don't know about you, but I find myself in life, and man, I just want to eat my fish and my bread, and let me do my thing, let me stay comfortable, because I don't want you messing with my plan that I had. I don't want you messing with my sleep. I already don't get enough of it as it is. I don't want you messing with my time. I already don't have enough of it as it is. Right. I find myself constantly fighting against the idea that my life should be comfortable. But then I read something like Luke 14:33, and it says, in the same way, those of you who do not give up everything you have cannot be my disciples. Wow. Dang it! And here's the thing. If my heart belongs to God, then my will needs to belong to him as well. Yeah. That's really good. But that's what I hang on to. I struggle to surrender my will. And in Matthew 15, Jesus says that my lips can honor God, but my heart can be far from him. Wow. So I have the lips of a disciple, but the heart of a Pharisee. Wow. Man. And that, to me, that can mess with me sometimes. And what really messes with me is how unattractive that can be to people who are far from God, because they can still see it. Wow. So I want to ask you tonight, what are you holding on to that God's given you? Maybe it's your talent. Hey, maybe it's your time. Maybe it's your money. Maybe it's your personality. Maybe it's the connections that you have. Maybe it's the position where you're seated, amongst workplaces or different relationships you have. What are you holding on to that God has given you? And then how are you holding on to what God has given you? Because I think sometimes, now I brought some bread with me tonight in case I got hungry. I think sometimes, this is not a barley loaf, but just work with me. Oh, Nathan, you're early. Hello. I might have told you the wrong spot, but you look good. Let me tell you when to come back. I'll give you a break. Nathan, you take a coffee. You have a smoke break and come back at Matthew 13. What did I just say? Did I say Matthew 13? Matthew 15. Sorry, we were very close. You can hang if you want to, too. It's up to you. I apologize. But let's get back to where this message was. Here's what I think here's what I think happens to us sometimes. I think sometimes we hold on to things in life that God's given us. And then we say, oh, God, would you use this? God, would you use me? God, would you use the gifts you've given me?
Yeah.
Oh, God, just use me, God. So you got to ask yourself, how am I holding this? Am I holding it like this? Or am I holding it like this? Man, I'm so thankful for people in my life who held their hands open for me when I didn't deserve it, when it was theirs to hold on to. I'm so thankful for people in this church who for years have decided I could be holding this like this, but instead I'm going to hold it like this. Come on, aren't you thankful for the people who've gone before us and built what we have today? I got to get rid of this stupid bread or we're never going to get this message done. I want to tell you a story about my junior high teacher. I have an amazing junior high teacher. I find that in all the years of school, you might get one good teacher. But I have an amazing one. And if there's any teachers in the room, I'm sure you're the one amazing one. But praise God. But I have my junior high teacher, a few years after I left school, he knew that I was a pastor's kid. And he reached out to me just a few years after I finished junior high school. And he said, hey, I still got these Christian kids coming into my class, because he leads like a Christian program in a public school. And he reached out and said, hey, is there any way we could maybe do an event and where you guys would come in? And so I think we reached out at first, but then he kept reaching out after that. He's invited us more and more and more and more. And what's he doing? He's holding what God has given him with an open hand. And so what now happens is 3 times a year, we either go into a public school or a public school comes to us, and we get to put on a full church service and witness to these kids and tell them the love of God is there for them. But that only happens because one teacher decided, I need to hold this with an open hand. I need to realize there's an opportunity to connect these kids who, even though they're in a Christian program, are not necessarily connected to a local church. He realizes the value of that, holds it with an open hand, and allows us to be connected to them. If that boy did not offer his lunch, what if there was no miracle that day? Like, this is the only evidence that we see of any food within these 5,000 people. And man, greatness in the kingdom of God is not based on our works or our words. It requires a childlike humility of spirit. To just come and say, well, I know it's not much, but I'm not going to keep it to myself. So I would just encourage you, hold what you have with humility, because God opposes the proud and gives grace to the humble. What I love about an open hand, it's a posture of worship.
Yeah, that's good.
One thing you know what I love about worship? I don't grab my phone and worship too much, unless somebody's doing something bad and I have to deal with it. But I love that we have our hands up, and it keeps us away from the thing we're addicted to, and keeps our hands up towards God. So how are you holding what God's given you? But it's not just the blessing that he's put in your hand. It's not just the blessing that's in our hands. What are you holding on to that life has given you?
Wow.
What words were spoken over you that were never supposed to be spoken over you, and you're holding them in your hand tightly? Offense, hurt, pain. We want to get even. We want to be the victim. Here's what I hold way too much. I'm so glad I have friends in my life who call me out and tell me this. I hold other people's problems too much in my hands. People tell me what's happening in their life, and I hold these so close. Oftentimes I think it's because I think I'm the solution. I have the solution, I'm not the solution. And I think some people just hold their doubt so tightly in their hands. I think there's so many people that want to educate their way to faith. and they get things in their heart. And don't get me wrong, if you start looking into what we believe, there is so many facts that will lead you to the truth. But faith is the evidence of things unseen. So at some point, the whole basis of this is faith. You cannot educate yourself into this. What are you holding on to that life has given you? And how are you holding on to what life has given you? Are you holding it open or closed? Man, the amount of people... Beautiful, Nathan. Nathan is so patient with me. I love that about him. The amount of people who turn their back on God just because they're holding something so tightly in their hand. Because the soil of their heart was not good. It says in Matthew 13 that if we get weeds in there, it will choke out the word. It will choke out the seed. And I think that's what happens in people's hearts. And you talk to them and you realize they're holding something with a closed fist. And here's what we need to realize is that surrender is a process, not a moment. Surrender is a process. There's moments where we can have moments of surrender. Wednesday nights, I think so many of us have moments of surrender. Church, church and Sunday, we have moments of surrender. Our Freedom Conference, we have moments of surrender. Our Risen Camp, we have moments of surrender. And Freedom Conference is like Risen Camp for adults without the games and the bleeding. And you get to sleep in your own bed. So, anyways. Hey, let's bring this back. You guys laughing too much. You're tempting me. But we have these moments of surrender, and I think what happens in these moments is we slowly begin to open our fist and say, okay, God, you can have this. But surrender is a process that has to continue. You have to continue to let God take that for the miracle to take place in your life. So many people pray the prayer, but there isn't much that changes in their life. And tonight, I hope that you have a reaction to this message in service, but then you have a response to it in your life.
Yeah, that's good.
I think it's so important to have moments like this. And just a reaction to say, God, I'm all yours. I'm all in.
Yeah.
And I'm doing that right now in this moment. I'm going to continue that on Thursday morning. I'm going to continue that Thursday night. You know what I mean? I'm going to keep it going. And what I've found in life is that sometimes, especially when it comes to surrender, it can be like a mouse getting into your house. And mice are gross, but work with me here. You ever get a mouse in your house and you see the evidence of that mouse and you're like, ah. So you put out your traps and you catch the mouse and it's a moment of victory and you clean up everything. Ah. And then, a couple days later, you found another box chewed up. You're like, I know that box wasn't chewed up before. And then another mouse has gotten in and you got to catch another mouse. Has anyone had a mouse in their house so they know what I'm talking about? Okay, all right. I currently do not have any mice in my house, which I'm happy about. But I got to check my heart on the process of my surrender. Because it's not something you catch in a sermon. It's not something you catch in an event and you're perfect at it for the remainder of your life. It's something I continually have to check. So how do I check it? I need to open this.
Yeah, that's good.
I like David, seeking God.
Yeah.
Like pursuing him, having a daily desire. Opening this, hey, getting the right people in your life. Hey, you need more than friends. You need leaders. You need more than friends in your life. It can't just be you and your homies and we're figuring this thing out together. You need to get a leader into your world who is planted in your local church. And then you need to check Proverbs and it says that you'll know that leader by their fruit. And so get somebody who's dedicated and people who will connect you to Jesus, not to themselves. Get that, get people, get prayer. Pray without ceasing. Start just giving things to God. And then the presence of God, a desire for the presence of God. Here's what I love about this story. And we don't see this in the Bible, but I'm pretty sure we can assume this by the story, that boy still got his lunch that day. It says everybody ate, they gathered what was not eaten. Here's what I'm finding in my life, and it talks about this in James or Peter or somewhere in the Bible, that I'm just making these prompter guys angry. They're like, where is he going? Here's what I'm finding, is when I control, it brings chaos. But when I submit, it brings order. And so, man, I feel like I had a word for my life a couple in 2018 that I just was trying to control everything and trying to fix everything in my own way, but just realizing that I needed to submit it to God, and that when I honor my leaders, God will honor me. And so just stop trying to figure it out on your own, because our control brings chaos, but submission brings order. When I open my hand, I show that I can be trusted. And like I talked about earlier, the irony of it is like we hold on to things and then we blame God for our failure. We hold on to things and we're like, I gotta figure it out. I gotta do this. And God, you've given me this vision. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna run with it. We don't submit it to anybody. We just run with it on our own. And then we blame God when it doesn't work out. But when you open your hand, God can use what's there. When you surrender your will to God. And as I read through this, I just kept getting stuck on that boy and how they had to follow Jesus around this sea to go and get with him. He was trying to go be on his own, and then they get into this pasture. And just think about how exhausted that boy must have been. And he's like, I've already walked here to see what you've done, and now you want my lunch too? But without that lunch, the miracle wouldn't have happened. Hey, I wanted to make sure that we left a lot of time to just worship and pray a little bit tonight. And so, I don't know how this applies to your life. I don't know what you're tying this with. But maybe if we could just have a moment right now. I'm talking about a moment of surrender. Could we just have a moment of surrender together? Could I just get you to stand right now? And we're going to sing a song. It's super old. And you might not have heard this song in our church before. It's probably the first time we played it in this building. But I think just the words are so powerful. And so you'll catch on quick if you haven't heard it before. But it goes, how does the chorus go? Here I am to worship. Here I am to bow down. Here I am to say that you're my God. Yeah, we going old school. Yeah, there is the extended warranty has run out on this song, let me tell you. But then it says, you're altogether lovely, altogether worthy, altogether wonderful to me. And hey, could we just right now with open hands just really mean that tonight? God, we're just so thankful that you're faithful. I just thank you for, there's a person in here who has a dream, and they've been running with that dream, and I think it's a dream for some kind of business. I just thank you that that person would just hold it with an open hand tonight and realize as they run towards that business, they run away from you. Not that it's wrong to have a business, but I just feel like there's somebody in here and that's them. God, I just pray that right now we would give you the people that are frustrating us and just hold them with an open hand tonight and begin that process of surrender with them.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this content, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any future videos. If you'd like more information about Celebration Church, head over to our website at celebrationedmonton.com. Thanks again for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.